Greetings, this is Warrior King, and the time has come for the lions and the lioness to tell their own story. This is the lion's voice. Give thanks and praise for the wonderful blessing that's been poured on me. Give thanks and praise. Jah use I as an instrument to set the people free. Jah give her the powers to chant. Jah give her the powers to chant. Rastafari, the lion's voice.
This is Mama Thea of Asli Pure, and when I want to hear the story from the lion and the lioness, I listen to Lion Voice with Kwasi Bonsu.
Greetings, this is Shiloh. The time has come for the lions to tell their own story. See? This is the lion's voice. Keep it locked, right, sir? Shiloh said that. Are you satisfied? Wipe those tears from your eyes. I'm all alone, still you thought I was telling a lie. This is the lion's voice. Keep it locked, right, sir?
What are you waiting for? Come together, calling from near and far. Know who you are. What are you waiting for? Rally up, it takes the dust. What are you waiting for?
This is Warrior King, and the time has come.
Story. See? This is the lion's voice. Keep it locked, right, sir?
Takes the dust. What are you waiting for? Ancestors paved the way for us. Yes, I am Ketis Oyonde, asking, what are you waiting for to come together? The time has come for the lions to tell our own story. This is the lion's voice.
Yes, Jah people, this is Michael Shemai representing. I will say, Haile Lion Voice, saying it is time for the lions and the lionesses to tell their own story. King David killed Goliath with a stone, we original dread.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes. Wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the lion's voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari, live it. Hey, the lion's voice. Rastafari.
Alright, listen to me now, people. The lion roar, no dog bark. See? The lion's voice with Kwasi Bonsu. Time right now for the lion to tell his story. See? Listen up.
Amina, the time has come for the lioness to tell our own story. No surrender, no retreat, we are Jaja soldier. Rougher than the streets, tougher than a boulder. Bigging up Lion's voice. Now put it, I Jalifa said that.
Yeah, now the time has come for the lion to tell his own story. Yeah, the one them called Celestial I represent for the mighty lion voice. And this a shook up your planet tectonic. As me sip up my roots and tectonic. And you can't make me jump nor get panic. Have the engine a run like mechanic. Room.
I will never stop, hail the Most High, and I will never stop, call Rastafari. Blessed love, this is Kushite representing for the Lion's Voice. We are here to tell our own story, Rastafari.
Yeah, David Dread of Steel Pulse, and I'm saying hail to the Lion Voice because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here. Hear me now. Oh, yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice. stars they fall, and the moon turn into blood. But to the coming war we stand tall. I will shower you with my love, and even when the people start ball, cause they see the city streets them flood. But when the hurricane blow down your wall, I'll be by your side, I mean I'm both. Think I found the love of a lifetime. I love you every day or the night time. Almighty, I made your light shine, and unto I, your love was a lifeline. Think I found the love of a lifetime. I love you every day or the night time. Almighty, I made your light shine, and unto I, that light was a lifeline. It seems like the world is upside down. I will never hide, I'd rather stand my ground. Lion of Judah blessed with the triple crown. Can't come fool I with no circus clown. Now fear no hurricane or the cyclone. Respect for Mama Earth with that embedded on me bone. That's why I will never leave you alone. Protect you from harm when the alarm sound. So even when the stars they fall, and the moon turn into blood, to the coming war we stand tall. I will shower you with my love, and even when the people start mal, but they see their city streets them flood. When the hurricane blow down our wall, I'll be by your side, I mean I both. Think I found the love of a lifetime. I love you every day or the night time. The Almighty, I made your light shine, and unto I, your light was a lifeline. I think I found the love of a lifetime. I love you every day or the night time. The Almighty, I made your light shine, and unto I, your love was a lifeline. They say hurt people, maybe that's why Babylon them so evil. Maybe Babylon abused as a child. That's why them no like the light when you smile. That's why them no like how your body curve. The way how you dance get on Babylon nerve. Them no know how the Almighty you serve. Want to be a queen, so a king you deserve. And
what do you have to tell the people about Rastafari?
Light to the world. King of kings and the conquering line of the tribe of Judah. I like himself. Where's rightful ruler? Hey yo! Yeah. Hail them high, hail the black king on the 23rd of July. So tell them guy who praise God up in the sky, it's a lie. The Almighty living on your night. From ancient time, them a try. Them Romans know them just open them suit and ties. Criminals ain't got no alibi, they stole my people. Then them comes without them genocide.
Are you talking about slavery?
Them couldn't kill the lion where come conquer Judah tribe. Go through tribulation, and I strive, see sufferation, and I still rise. That's why we tell them in America, live Rastafari in every ghetto area. We come to tell them in a Toronto, straight at
Greetings in that divine name of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I the First. Glory and honor in the name of His chosen Queen, Empress Menen. My name is Kwasi Bonsu, aka DejazmatchKwasi, aka Ras Kwasi, aka the Reading Ras, aka the Pan-African Happy Man. I'm a creative industry attorney. I'm an author. I'm an artist. I'm an actionist. And right now, I am the host of Lion Voice Live. Welcome to Lion Voice Live, and welcome to the Lion Voice Network, where the lions are telling our own story. Today, we are going to be talking about the Grand Coronation. We are still in the midst of Hurricane Melissa recovery. I've been on calls all strong. We're trying to make sure that we get information correct We're going to be doing some major fundraising for the hurricane relief effort for the Rastafari community in particular. Because as you know, when you see these big hurricane drives and barrels and containers, a lot of that, is distributed to where the connections are. And a lot of time as Rastafari, our communities are not plugged into those political networks or otherwise that are distributing the aid. Ones may be isolated, ones might be in more rural areas and not able to get to where things are. So right now we do have ones who are out trying to map the situation, find out where everyone is, and we give thanks. For a while we couldn't find our beloved sister Nanny, Ross Brown. You saw them here on the platform, the Coral Garden Benevolent Society, which we would look to as an entity in this time as a benevolent society, and we couldn't get in touch with any of the membership because that side of Jamaica was hit. Montego Bay, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, all of these places, Hanover, very, it's like apocalyptic is the word I've heard used. One thing though, we're not doom and gloom over here. We always look at the bright side. And one thing I can say is a plus is that it, I think, has woken up Rastafari community how much we need each other, how important the unity is, how we need to map, and how it's so important to know where we are. We are the brethren, we are the sistren. Where are all our farms located? We have to quickly work together to get the farms forward to production. There's going to be massive food shortage. St. Elizabeth is the bread basket of Jamaica. So this is just beginning, and this is why we haven't done a lot of hurricane content on the platform, but we will become one of the principal platforms to keep informed on what's happening with the Rastafari community. So make sure that keep it locked here. If you're not a subscriber, make sure you subscribe. We are going to, because long after this come off of the mainstream media and and the social media, this is going to be an issue, because some people lose everything: house, roof, personal belongings, everything. So this is not short term. So we also want to ensure that we have a collective response and that we are giving accurate information. This also provides us an opportunity to rebuild, a different type of vision, a more dynamic vision that's focused on repatriation, preparation for repatriation, training, skills development, agricultural, food production, certain things that we know we need, making sure we're building off the grid, solar, resilient hurricane, resilient standards of building, make sure we get the engineer, the architect, the surveyor to come out to the sites and make sure these things are up to the code for the region as it relates to hurricane. Now, you can never stop Mother Nature. However, we can mitigate, meaning we can lessen the amount of damage, if we plan. So as we raise funds and as we reinvest, we're looking at it as an opportunity, again, to build a more dynamic Rastafari in Jamaica and also prepare. Let's talk about the prophetic part of it too, because I grew up in the faith at the feet of my elders, and they used to say we're not giving up a continent for an island. They said that the islands would sink, the hills shall dance like a ram, and all kind of things that we used to reason. And we see now in the Armageddon, Naya Bingi, we sing Rastafari winner blow east, Rastafari winner blow west, and it sound like judgment morning. So these judgment mornings, when they come and the winds blow and rains come and the destruction, I and I, as the far eye, should not be afraid. I and I should not be bewildered I just have to know these are the signs and the wonders. Now, what we are saying, I want us to be clear here. We're not saying abandon Jamaica or the Caribbean islands. These are part of the sixth region, and we have hard fought, one blood has been shed. We are the majority on these islands as black people. We're not giving up these paradise in the West. However, as they are now configured as islands of exile, the population cannot be sustained by the current food production on the islands. They're not sustainable. That's what I'm saying. And so most of the islands survive by imports. I heard Jamaica's over 90% import in terms of food. And this is also as a result of the IMF policies and World Bank policies that undercut the local farmers, mash up the agricultural sector. We know all of that. What we're saying is strategically now, as the hurricanes multiply, they're getting worse. They say the waters are getting warmer. Some people argue man-made. Some people say a mother nature. Whatever the case is, I need to be strategic and I need to be prepared. We have to have contingencies. We have to have exit strategy. Exodus. I take that sound very serious. I was born in 1977, the year that the Exodus album came out, Bob Marley. And I take it as, the responsibility of I generation. They call us Generation X, to really build the institutions and steward this repatriation, because it's a prophetic journey. Remember that our ancestors, when they were torn, their prayer was to return one day. For many of us, when I went to Ghana in 2005, I was the first person in my family in over 500 years to step my foot forward on African soil. So we are the generation of them who seek his face, but also that are destined to return. To step forward. I was the fulfillment when I stepped foot on the continent of that ancestor who, cried tears being torn from his homeland on the belly of a ship. Months of darkness and destitute, the prayers that one day, I was the fulfillment just by stepping foot on the continent. And we are in that time, that era. That didn't happen before. This is happening now. So when we see the Caribbean in peril, when we see the Western system falling, I'm in a country that doesn't have a functioning government, literally. When we see all of these signs, wonders, those who are steeped in prophecy know it is time to prepare. Come out of her, my people. Let's ye be partakers, sharing our sins, sharing our plagues. So we are not saying that ones must completely give up their investments in the West. You can be strategic. What we're saying right now is preparation, and what we're saying is acceleration of the preparation. So a lot of people had long timelines. We're saying now, let us accelerate the timeline, because one of the things, and we're going to talk about it tonight, I have a nice presentation to share with the IDEM. We're going to talk about the top 10 moments, and I want everyone to create their own top 10 moments of the coronation. So we're going to talk about the coronation. But the coronation, remember, when His Majesty ascended the throne 1930, one of the things that he was doing was outreaching to the black people of the world to come home and to build Ethiopia. He had an extensive recruitment plan. I'm going to be doing a program. I have the documentation, a nice article that was written about His Majesty's efforts to recruit black Americans in the late 20s and 1930s to come and develop Ethiopia. And it was blocked by the State Department. So we're going to do some highlights. So this black king ascending the throne, the world press was there, Universal Pictures, the movie, the whole, everybody was there, National Geographic. was there. It was being recorded. It was shown in film theaters all across the world. In those days, they used to show newsreels in theaters in the United States, so and in the British colony. So a lot of people, sorry, the first time they saw the coronation was on the big screen. You know what I mean? The king and the queen seated on the throne. So it's amazing in terms of that sending shockwaves through the black world, because at that time every black territory, we talk about Liberia also being independent, but it was not really independent. It was a vassal state of the United States of America. It didn't have an independent foreign policy. It was the Firestone Company that was really running the place as a multinational corporation. So we have to be honest. So Ethiopia is really the only independent African nation, and at the time of the coronation, it sends a shockwave across the earth. The globe is now seeing black power in its fullness in terms of king on the throne, Europeans having to go and bow down before His Majesty. And we had Field Marshal Tau from South Africa. He was challenging the assertion that 72 nation bow. 12 nations were named in the autobiography. I went and counted them. And so that's something that we need to do some more extensive research. You know, I always justified it in my heavens that, you know, you have to include the nations within Ethiopia, within that 72 nation. And then you'd also include the conquered nations, you know, the vassal states of those colonial powers. Even though those 12 were the overall, they were controlling vast amount of territories at the time of the coronation. So we would include them. But in terms of, was there actually 72 nations? And this is why it's good for us to fund black independent media, and more specifically Rastafari independent non-aligned media. Because we would love to have some correspondents, some investigative journalists that we could hire to go do the research, so we could be doing think pieces on these kind of things about the coronation. We're in that time, and as Rastafari people, we have to invest in ourselves. That's the vision I have. You know, a world-class media operation that is able to look into our history and document it and present it in a professional way, that our youths them and the youths them to come, the coming generation that's rising on the African continent, will have somewhere that they can go to see that authentic, rootical, Pan-African root of Rastafari in living colors. So if you're not a part of our Lion Pride on Patreon, and let me also big up Empress Jennifer, who returned as a Patreon member this month. One of the things I know I'm on the right track is that the Lion Pride on Patreon that we have, you know, we'll have times when people drop off. They may, you know, go into hard times. You have to make some decisions. I understand that. Right now is Gideon on earth. But they always come forward. And this is how I know, you know what I mean, that we're building something special here on the Lion Voice Network. Because the ones them see what we're doing, they see the work ethic, they see that we're consistent, putting out high quality, conversation, high level, high frequency Rastafari content on the internet. And they're contributing their $5, their $10 to make it work. And I want to always honor, not because we're pushing for 100 or 1,000 patrons, I don't want to get the feeling that I don't honor and love the 45 that I currently have. Those are the lifeblood of this work that we're doing, and I have to give my respect, because to have an independent Rastafari media, it has to be audience funded. It's the only way to maintain true independence. So no matter how much sponsors we get, you know what I mean, we want to make sure that our base is the audience, that independent, that gives us the flexibility to tell a sponsor, you know what, we don't really care how you feel, you know what I mean, we're going to still block what needs to be blocked, because if you don't want to be the sponsor, You can go to France. We are staying true. And you can only do that without destroying your operation if you have that audience support. So big up all of our Lion Pride on Patreon for supporting. If you're not a member and you love the content, become a member today. That's what we can do. I would love to have correspondence down in Jamaica covering Hurricane Melissa. These are the things when we have a media operation that's well funded. These are the things that we now can, become that asset for the community. Making sure that communities that are underserved are getting attention for the global family can support. This is when we understand why a sovereign people need a robust Rastafari independent non-aligned media. And big up all the other platforms. I call their name all the time on the platform. There's no competition with I and I as Rastafari. All of I and I know each other and familiar, and it's just love, you know what I mean, in terms of all of the platforms. So if you don't support this platform, or if you do, you can still go and support the other platforms and make us circulate the dollar, so that if one of us, can no longer move forward, we're not depending on one platform or the other. We got to be strategic, family. We got to invest, and we got to really know what we're doing right now. The Armageddon is here. It's not coming. It is here. So be not afraid. I and I must conquer Babylon. Okay. Let me pull this up here. Hold on there. All right. So we're going to go into the topic. And remember, you can also give super chats. That is the, if you look above the chat, there's I think $, $5, $10, $2, Grassroots, always setting the great example. Boy, Grassroots, big up yourself. Big up Lion Voice Network and Lion Pride. Give thanks. Grassroots always here. One of the Lion Pride out of the US. We give thanks. So tonight, family, I want ones to start dropping their top moments from the coronation in the comment section. We're going to go through the top moments of the coronation, top 10 moments of the coronation of Kadamawi Haile Selassie the first. All right. Let me start. Number 10. All right. Number 10. All right. We're going to start number 10 like this. The number 10, and this is my list, so you might have a different opinion. We love that. Again, drop your comment. The 12 a.m. midnight start to the coronation ceremony. So His Majesty Empress Menen of Sawosen, and I'm taking this information from the autobiography. We look at that as one of our primary sources. So there's other information and facts that we can take from all over. Big up the EWF International President in the chat. Sister Cheryl says the return of the scepter from the UK. Yes, big, 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 big. And we're going to talk about the Orban scepter. Of course, that have to be on the list. But number 10, 12 a.m., His Majesty Empress Menen and the royal family pulls up to St. George Cathedral, and we have a picture of the cathedral. And they're pulling up because they are going to begin their prayer. The invited guests are not reporting to the ceremony until 7 a.m. So we have 7 hours of prayer before we even get into the official ceremony. And this is to show that this coronation, I want us to really meditate on the power of prayer. What is prayer and meditation? Prayer is when you're putting your intention on something. You're shifting the energy frequency, you know what I mean, by putting that divine intention. So 7 hours of prayer from His Majesty Empress Menen at the cathedral before the guests arrive. Deep meditation, preparation, preparing for this great crowning. You can imagine, you know what I mean, how that feel. So this is my number 10, 12 a.m. And let me just read a little bit from the autobiography. Because this, I'm telling you, we don't talk about the spiritual preparation, you know what I mean? And for us as Rastafari in this time, we have to return to that spiritual foundation because it's going to be necessary. We fight not flesh and blood, family, but principalities and powers, spiritual wickedness in high and low places. I tell the idea is the truth. So we have a lot that we need to do to prepare, and it's not going to be easy. Let me start here. This is from the autobiography. And this is November 1st. He's saying, on this day, toward the evening, the treasurer placed the imperial state vestments and the crown and the orb and the imperial scepter, the sword and the diamond ring, as well as the emperor's state robes and crown and a diamond ring on a chariot, and took it in a great parade, to the Royal Church of St. George, where he consigned it to the Archbishop, where it remained all night to be prayed over. We and the Empress, our family and princes and nobles, went to the church at midnight. It had been arranged that our foreign guests should arrive at 7 o'clock in the morning, and that they took their seats, which had been prepared on the right and on the left of the throne, according to their rank. The seating order provided that Ethiopian princes and nobles should be interspersed among foreign guests. So you can imagine how serious it was on that fateful day. After 7 hours of prayer, foreign guests arrive, and the Duke of Gloucester have to sit beside Ethiopian noble with his lion mane, barefoot, you know what I mean, rifle, because the man them coming fully armed, they're not leaving their arms in those times. Some of them have their swords, you know what I mean. So you can imagine the pageantry and the power. 7 hours of prayer. Let us sink that in. So that's number 10. All right, let's go to number 9. Number 9, we have the oath of the coronation over a Bible bound in gold, and he calls it the Gospels bound in gold. Number 9. So when we talk about the biblical symbology of the coronation, it's inescapable, you know, and I want to just go through the oath of the coronation. So this means that he's being bound. When you take an oath or a pledge, that means you're binding yourself, your word song, which, although, you know, Babylon lies so much that people forget the power of the word. The word, you know, when you look at the cartoons and the Hollywood movies and the magician them and do them spell. What them use? Them use words. You know, a spell is, you know, when you talk about spell, it relates to words. So word is power, and we say that in Rastafari, word sound is power. That's our reasoning. So the oath of the coronation is very essential in understanding who the emperor is, what it represented for the realm of Ethiopia, the only independent realm within the African context. All of the other kingdoms had fallen, foreign colonialism. Now, there were some small kingdoms that the Europeans couldn't fully penetrate, like the Maasai, but the Maasai didn't have full control over Kenya. They had control over their realm, and they were contained pretty much. Ethiopia is the only empire that survived. There were several empires, and we talked about that. If you haven't seen the episode we did with our African guests, check that out. There are several empires that are present in Africa, and several Africans have the tradition of the King of Kings as the paramount title of their chiefs or their kings. So there are several of them. So Ethiopia, was built on a biblical foundation coming into the modern era, into the recorded era. Ethiopia, as was rightly said, extends far beyond Christianity, even Hebrew, Cushite foundation of Ethiopia. It goes to the foundation of recorded history. However, coming into the modern era, the revelation of Yeshua had taken Ethiopia, meaning that its people had the belief in the power of or the unity of the divine within man, which again is a Nile Valley concept, the divine God King. I mean, Yeshua is still within that framework, so it's nothing strange to Africans to hear that the Almighty was born in Bethlehem and descending from David, and these things based on the works that he did, and the things and the revelation of the word, because we can't minimize the word son of Yeshua. The word son of what Yeshua is revolutionary, what I mean, in terms of the parables and all of those things. It's very revolutionary. We take it for granted because it's so prevalent, but coming into the world at that time, these things were things that concepts that were debated in the mystery schools. They weren't among the common people like that. What I mean? So he was returning the knowledge of that divine to the man on the street. That is really the power of Yeshua, because the knowledge always was segregated into the elite class, and Yeshua come and lick down that whole kind of system. So when we read this oath, which His Majesty is pledging to really defend the faith of Yeshua, is a serious thing, and we can't take it lightly in terms of why the Father of the heaven and earth chose, of all of the different traditions, why he chose to be bound under the tradition of Yeshua the Son. So I want to just read the oath. To me, this is number 9. Top moments. Put your top moments in the comments. If you have top moments, Sister Cheryl has put a top moment, the return of the scepter from the UK. If you have a top moment, put the top moments in the coronation. We're talking about the coronation. If you're just joining us, we are going into the history of the great coronation, a day that would change the whole earth forever. This is the birth of the Rastafari movement as well. It starts 1930 officially with the revelation of the coronation. Earth's rightful ruler has come. So this is our Earth Strong Day. We are talking about the 10 top moments of the coronation. So I'm just reading the oath, which was read over the Golden Bible. It says, before the royal ritual began, the Archbishop Abuna Krilios approached with a gospel bound in gold and asked us to complete the following words of the oath. Number one, that we should strengthen the Orthodox faith, which had remained steadfast in Ethiopia from the days of the holy kings Abraha and Abasha, and that we should keep without disturbance the laws and ordinances which the Orthodox Church has laid down. Two, that in all we are doing by our authority and our power to the people in the imperial realm of Ethiopia, we should act with consideration for the interests of the people according to law, as well as with kindness and with patience. Number three, that we would permanently maintain the laws we had established after submitting them of our own free will to the council for advice, and that we would safeguard the entire Ethiopian realm and people in accordance with the established law and the ordinances of the council. Number four, that we would assist by our goodwill and authority the establishment of schools at which secular and spiritual education would be developed in Ethiopia and in which the gospels would be preached. So when we're talking about the gospels again, gospels means the good news of Yeshua. So that's why we went into that whole fullness around Yeshua to show at the coronation, grand coronation, he's binding himself for the spread of the gospels. But notice also, and this likely was negotiated by His Majesty with the church elders, this oath, because we see certain little things that, the establishment of schools at which secular and spiritual, and we know prior to His Majesty, there were no secular education for the public in Ethiopia. So we know these things were likely negotiated into the oath by Kadamawi Haile Selassie the First. And again, the fact that he's taking an oath to spread the gospels, which is the story of Yeshua's coming to earth, revealing himself and preaching that the Almighty is within man, a knowledge that had been lost to the people of Palestine at that time. And remember, these were the African Hebrews. These Hebrews' culture was shaped in Kemet. According to the Old Testament, Moses coming out of Egypt was a prince of Egypt. So these people, the whole Hebrew culture is shaped in Kemet. There's no dividing the Hebrew, African Hebrew, from the Nile Valley civilizations of Cush and Kemet, and the other time they spending in the lands of Cush. When you talk about Ur of the Chaldees, where Abraham comes out of Ur of the Chaldees, these are Cushite cities. So all the way, you're dealing with black people in ancient time. And again, His Majesty now is taking an oath to be bound by these things. So that's a top moment for I. Again, put your top moments. We're going to go to number 8. Number 8 is the gold medals to the foreign dignity. His Majesty says he had a high quantity of medals produced, and that they were distributed to the foreign dignities, as tokens of the coronation. Let me find that section. His Majesty said, furthermore, gold medals were manufactured in large quantities, on which the effigies of myself and Empress Menen were engraved together, and which were given as souvenirs to foreign guests coming to our coronation, either by invitation or of their own volition, as well as to notables and important persons from within the country. So you can see this is one of the medals I found this online. So this was distributed, these gold medals, remarkable. if I had money, would I buy one of them? Because you can find a lot of these artifacts online being sold at different auction houses. As people from Europe die, you have their family members, go through their attic and find these things, and then they put them up or they sell them to an auction house. So a lot of things from Ethiopia, you can get them. And there are a few brethren. Jim Marshall is probably the most famous out of California, who have massive collections of artifacts and different things online. So these are the things that when we build our studio, the Lion Voice Network studio, we probably try and get some of these things that we could have. Maybe we can build a nice museum of some of these artifacts. Futuristic talk, you know what I mean? Because you have to vision, you have to have the vision. But this is, one of the remarkable things getting this gold medal. This was our number 8 top moment from the coronation. The gold medal to the foreign dignitaries. Serious, serious, serious. Let's keep it moving. Number 7, invitations sent to the ancient monasteries and attendance of the ancient monastic orders. So His Majesty takes great care to say that he didn't just send out the 700 invitations were sent out, but he didn't just send out invitations to the European powers. And we have here a rendering of the ancient monastery of Deborah Bizin, which was one of the monasteries that was invited. And they're in Eritrea, which shows that the faith transcends nationalistic borders. At this time, Eritrea was under Italian occupation. I'm just going to read this section from the autobiography. Said again, as we have explained before, since in earlier times the coronation was held on the very day the son and heir ascend the throne, there was no time to invite the princes and nobles of each region. But now we had arranged for our coronation to be postponed for 7 months. Letters of invitations were sent all over Ethiopia to the prince and nobles and all the headmen of the priors of the monasteries and the deans of cathedrals, that they should come and participate in our joy. A letter of invitation was also written to Abba Amda Meriam, the prior of Dabra Bizan, which had remained well known and esteemed in its importance from early times when the kings of Ethiopia had consecrated it as a monastery, although today it is within the Italian colony of Eritrea. So the item can see Deborah Bizan. And when you look it up, you find out from Zariak of time, from Yeshen of time, this monastery is there. And these monasteries in Ethiopia are the keepers of the ancient knowledge of the realm, the Giz manuscripts. And the Giz manuscripts is where you're going to find a lot of the knowledge that we see in the book of Enoch, the fallen angels, the wars in the heavens, things that they don't share too much with the local people. Things that blow your mind, we don't talk about it too much, but there's that supernatural side of the levity which all African cultures acknowledge, and this is where this knowledge would have been kept in some of these things. So when we talk about the spiritual significance, and this is a actual picture of the monastery, Asian, and a lot of these are on some high plateaus. So and that's intentional because Ethiopia is a place that had a lot of war. So the monasteries were intentionally difficult to reach as a protection, because these are where the things are preserved. And some of these monasteries don't allow women on the premises. Some of them, most of them don't allow foreigners. This is where when you look at the iconography, you see, you know, the Black Christ, the this, the that, all of these things that were preserved from the earliest of times before any kind of foreign contamination. Now you go to some of the more popular monasteries, you'll see European white Jesus, you see things that were donated, and over time, certainly the corruption that has seeped in. But these monasteries, so the fact, and let us also just break down in those times, in those times, I, you know, he said that when the emperor died and they had the heir, the ceremony happened at the same time, so that there wasn't time for uprising, upheaval. This shows you how strong a position His Majesty was in at this time, that he could delay the coronation for 7 months. So this showed you that he was in supreme confidence and control, that he didn't have to worry about an insurrection. He could send out invitations to the farthest reaches of the empire. So he is really and truly the king of all kings, not just in, I take this and I snatch it quickly, but in everybody just have to acknowledge at this time, this is the one to reign and to rule. So it's a supreme show of power and confidence, and not just inviting the mainstream members of the Orthodox Church, but he's reaching up into the monastery, so the keepers of the ancient ways and the ancient esoteric knowledge, fallen angels that we read about in the book of Enoch, the covenant that the angels made on Mount Hermon to sleep with the children of men and create giants and all type of manner of creatures upon the face of the earth till the Noah flooded and have to wipe it out. You know what I mean? All them knowledge there, people would call it mythology, but it's passed down from centuries, from oral tradition to the written tradition, on written on parchment scrolls, protected with the lives of these monks. You know what I mean? These monks were now invited to come to Addis Ababa, the new flower, to bow and pledge their allegiance before the king of all kings. So he's showing that he's not just, again, a warlord emperor who take the throne through badness, but he's also ascended the heights of the church and the spiritual realm. He's also showing that primacy over the church, over the spiritual realm, that every man can remember. His Majesty was fluent in Ge'ez, all these different languages, know the scrolls back and forth, you know what I mean, all of the secret knowledge, him have access as a son of a noble. And he's demonstrating knowledge that has not been seen. This youth was a legend before the age of 13 for his knowledge and his grasp of these ancient scrolls and these things. So he would have been very familiar to all of the heads of the different monasteries, would have been following his progress. So this is a great moment for the realm spiritually, and he's showing his appreciation. Of course, he would have covered the expenses of the travel of these men, the highest quality. Send some man for them up at the monastery to come bring them come a town. So this is a great demonstration of power and of strength. And for it is my number 8. Number 7 greatest moment. If you're just joining us, we're talking about the top 10 moments of the coronation, and we want to highlight these things so that we remember and we just rejoice in the birth of the movement. The birth of the movement came through, it was a seal being loose. A seal was loose, and for that seal to be loose, prayer had to be there. You know what I mean? Intention. Yes, whole heap of money spent too. That is a fact, because Number 6, we talk about the unveiling of the orb, the scepter, the sword, the ring, all made of gold and diamonds. So this is actual wealth on display. Serious, you know what I mean? And these things were prayed over. We talked about that earlier. Over 24 hours, prayers were going up for the items. The items got their own parade before being installed. As Sister Cheryl said, the scepter was returned from the UK. It was stolen during the Magdala raid, so it was returned. And of course, as Rastafari, one of the things you heard from the elders was that the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until the coming of Shiloh, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be. And this is the last man we see in Ethiopia with any type of scepter, and the scepter being a symbol of power and divine rulership. So it's a very serious, scepter, and I believe that was inscribed on the scepter, that the scepter shall not depart from Judah. So once can correct I think it was in the mission, some information about by Hans Lockhart about the scepter. We'll look into that. We might do a whole episode just on the orb and the scepter. And of course, the orb represents the world. He got the whole world in his hand. He's got the whole wide world in his hand. He got the whole world in his hand. He got the whole world in his hand. So we chant there, what is an old time chant, but the scepter represents, you know what I mean, that fullness, divine governorship over the earth. And I had an interview with one of His Majesty family members, the Royal Prince Afsa Wilson, and one of his critiques was, after 1960, His Majesty spent so much time traveling around the world while Ethiopia was falling apart. This is his words, not mine. And what I shared with him is that His Majesty's responsibility was not just to Ethiopia, but world governance. He had to go visit all of the capital to talk to all of the stakeholders in these different countries. He would have met the elites of all different nations to carry the message of peace, world peace and stability. And he had that responsibility, especially after World War II, where he saw the world didn't have no sense. Vietnam, Korea, they kept violating the tenets of the charter. He had to go out there on a mission, and also he was seeking investment in Ethiopia, building those bridges between Ethiopia and all nations. And this is why, I and I as Rastafari are not racist people. We're not racialists, meaning that we love all mankind, because that was what was demonstrated for I and I by I and I, Divine Father. You know what I mean? Big up Grassroots with the $5 super chat. Give thanks His and Her Majesty name for this Irie live during the coronation month. Blessed love. Yes, Grassroots. And give thanks for the attribution, Grassroots. I really love the example that they are setting. Grassroots is one of our leaders within the Lion Pride in terms of showing to be an active community member, how you can support the platform. He's always demonstrating with his little coins, and we give thanks, Grassroots, because we need that strength. Again, we're trying to build a world-class Rastafari multimedia platform, and I would love to do this. I did this PowerPoint with my team. Sister Cheryl knows my team, and I would love to be able to hire young people to present this with moving graphics and all the vibes and things. But until then, we give thanks that we can do this way. But this is the unveiling of the orb and the scepter. You know what I mean? So this was a serious symbology. You know what I mean? Serious symbology with the orb and the scepter and the crown. Let me just read this part. Okay, let me hold off on that part. Let me reread the part here where it says, on this day, toward the evening, the treasurer placed the imperial state vestments and the crown, the orb, the imperial scepter, the sword, and the diamond ring, as well as the emperor's state robes and crown, and a diamond ring on a chariot, and took it in a great parade to the royal church of St. George, where he co-signed it to the archbishop, and where it remained all night to be prayed over. So it's not just these objects, but these objects are being prayed over and imbued with that spiritual energy to play that role, you know what I mean, in terms of, again, what they symbolize and what they represent and what His Majesty's duty was. All right, so we're continuing. Number 5. The anointing with the oil of kingship and the actual crowning with the triple crown. So, and I have the ganja plant there because we've heard and we accept that cannabis oil was part of the anointing oil from the days of the Israelites. But I've heard on good authority that even the anointing oil used was of that ancient prescription, and that cannabis oil was also a part. So that anointing, because remember the Christ, technical, if we want to get technical upon people, Christ means anointed one. His Majesty is the last anointed king on that throne. You know what I mean? Throne seal, nobody after. You know what I mean? There was no man before him, because before him, Empress Zaiditu, she was not a man. You know what I mean? No man before him, none after. You know what I mean? He's the beginning without ending. He's first and forever. He's a protector of all human faith and the ruler of the universe. And we talk about the triple crown. Why we call it the triple crown? Why? Because he was crowned as Ras, he was crowned as Negos, and he was crowned as Nagus and Nagas. So we say it's a triple crown. And this is my number 5, is the anointing with the oil. And this is for the brethren, because the anointing oil symbolizes the rulership. And Empress Menen didn't get the anointing oil, and he speaks about that very specifically, that this coronation was not to install a co-rulership. It wasn't a co-rulership. Empress Menen's authority is vested in her by virtue of her being one with the emperor. They become one flesh. But Haile Selassie is the head, and I want our brethren to really ingest this sound, because, and I'm going to read it to show His Majesty is very clear. This was a negotiated point. So I'm going to read it so that we can see that I'm not just making this up. This is a serious thing. It says, subsequently, the coronation service of the Empress commenced. The procedure for the enthronement of the Empress is today very much different from what it used to be previously. According to our historical study of earlier practice, the Empress was not anointed with the oil of kingship on the grounds that she did not share in the rulership with the Emperor. The crown, being merely symbolic, was very small. It was in that palace that the Emperor placed the crown on her head, and not in the church. This occurred on the 3rd day, for it was not permitted for her to be crowned on the same day as the Emperor. But now it was determined after consultation, that's the negotiation His Majesty do, and was accordingly carried out that, except, this is the exception, and for, as an attorney, there's the carve out, except for the regal anointing, which means that he did not negotiate that she would get anointed and thereby become co-ruler. You can't have two heads, one head. Except for the regal anointing, the archbishop should place the crown on her head and put the diamond ring on her finger, and that this should be on the same day jointly with the coronation of the emperor. And this is why I tell the man them that they have to serve as the head of their home. Hold on there. Let me get a close up here. This is controversial because I know we're going through a matriarchal shift, and the sister and them are doing so much work that it's very tempting for some of the man them to fold them hand back and say, yes, sister, go on, do it. That is not the approach. We need the man them to step up right now and to lead and to be the head. Find a sister and become one. And that sister becomes your wise counsel, becomes all these things. You come to a decision within your home, but make sure you lead. And I say this, you cannot be a man unless you have a plan. You can have a man frame and be a boy. Only boys have the luxury for just up and down and a ramp around. You have to have a plan if you are a man. Cannot be a man without a plan. And you cannot lead anyone. How are you going to call yourself a leader and you don't have a proper plan that's laid out, written down? This is what I want to achieve. These are my goals. How you are going to do that, my friend? So, Rastafari Man Standard, on this channel, we have a lot of content around that. I'm going to be putting together a playlist in the Patreon, and we're going to be doing special content moving forward for brethren to help the brethren them level up for this Armageddon time to lead our families into the promised land. And we need that step up right now, and we need those brethren to connect with other brethren, and this is how we're going to build our families forward, build our communities forward. So I am just saying to the item, the anointing oil of kingship and the actual crowning with the triple crown, this is my number 5 top moment. And if you're just joining us, put your top moments in the chat. Put your top moments in the chat. We're going to be doing a few different groups in the Patreon for people who want to do deep dives. We just uploaded some exclusive content up for people wanting to move forward to Africa. I'm showcasing my land in Ghana. My brethren, brother John, who I put up a clip. If you haven't seen the clip, he's talking about returning. You see his foundation being built for his home. So we're going to be doing exclusive content for people who want to move home to Africa, repatriation in the Patreon. People want to get a deeper dive, and we're sharing a little bit more personal information, so it's not on the public platform. It's for serious people. The Patreon is for people who support the channel, but also for people who are serious, looking for like-minded people, building that community. So we're going to have a collection playlist for the repatriation content. We're going to have one for the Rastafari Man Standard, which is, just what does a Rastafari man look like in this time? What are the elements? What do we need to be working on, mind, body, and soul, or mind, goody, and soul? Because the brethren them need that guidance. And then the other playlist that we're going to be doing in the Patreon is the Purpose Over Pum Pum, just generally from Pan-African brethren, that just being a man and navigating the world, sexual discipline, searching for your goals, just how do you put this thing together? We're going to be doing a whole course around Purpose Over Pum Pum in the Patreon, So all of these will be collection playlists. So once you become a monthly subscriber, you'll have unlimited access to all of this content. And we're going to help to build each other over there. So join us. We're building a community 45 members strong. We're trying to get to 1,000 so that we can have a mature community. So we have a long way to go, but it's coming. All right, number 4, top moments of the coronation, the attendance of Abuna Yassab as the representative of the Archbishop of Alexandria. And this is the Archbishop of Alexandria here in the Itret. Abuna Johannes, I believe his name was. And this man, look how much medal and things we him have. These are all esoteric orders, you know. Remember, and he's a religious man, and he had to have his representative in at the coronation to come and tell him what the king is doing, and the king would eventually have achieve autocephaly, meaning he was able to separate the Ethiopian church so that they could have their own archbishops, their own abunas. Up until this time, that they were still being under the See of Saint Mark out of Egypt. So the Coptics, you know, had large sway over the church in Ethiopia. There was language barriers. There was all kind of things that would take place. And, you know, always room for interference. So His Majesty was able to do that. But just to show the magnitude of the coronation, and again, it speaks to what the coronation represented to the Orthodox churches too of the world. So this coronation would have been reverberating. And remember, 1930 is the beginning of the Great Depression. I have a theory, and I have not to substantiate this. If I had a staff to go and do the research, I say it all the time, I would send them out so that we could build this case. But I believe that one of the reasons that the global economy crashed is because they were in panic, because the Black King was crowning and they didn't know if he was going to get on the throne and start flash lightning and thunder upon them. You understand? That's my theory as part of the reasons why people started to pull their money out of banks, run on banks, all of this thing, the collapse of the whole system. And then 5 years after that, the beast makes war and they invade Ethiopia unprovoked. So, you know what I mean? I think it's the case can be made. We just need the researchers to go through these archives, because remember, in those times people send letters to their loved ones, and I'm sure when we go through some of these things, some of them will be fear and trembling that Black King is being crowned in Ethiopia, sitting on the ancient throne, and you know they would have heard of his accolades and his acumen and these things. So the attendance of a representative of, and the See of Saint Mark is the oldest, predates the Vatican. You know what I mean? A lot of people look at Vatican, and yes, Vatican amass a lot of power through wickedness and colonization. But the See of Saint Mark, when it come on to Christendom, was the foundation before Europe, you know, it really took off. It took off in North Africa in terms of having the most churches and Christians. North Africa is where the faith really blossomed into what it is today. So that is my number 4. And remember, if you're just joining us, we're doing the top 10 moments from the coronation. If you have top 10 moments, please put them in the comments. Let's have a reasoning. I would love to see everyone's comments. And if you're joining us for the first time, please put in the comments where you're watching from. I haven't seen any of my Kenya family check in for a long time. So if you're watching from Kenya, please just put a message in the comments so that we can feel the love from the Kenya family. South Africa, please check in. We want to see where everybody is watching from. Make we all a joy, Lion Pride. We are growing, we are rising, we're getting stronger. All right, number 3, the unveiling of the Emperor Menelik statue. What a woe in a Babylon. To me, this is one of the greatest moments right before, as the foreign guests arrive, the statue of Emperor Menelik commemorating Adwa is unveiled. What is the messaging? This is the first time these people are going to the African continent. And bop, in them face, he greets them with, if you try invade, we will conquer you. This is a monument to the slaughteration of the invaders and the power of our great king of kings, Emperor Menelik. So to me, this was a real, again, demonstration of black power symbology, sending a message to the foreign guests, dignitaries, that we are not to be played with, we're not to be trifled with. I'm going to continue in this vein. We're going to commemorate. And we have to also be very careful, because in the ethno-nationalism of today, a lot of people try to demonize Emperor Menelik. But we have to remember, as him at the helm of Adwa, it's an inconvenient fact for a lot of Pan-Africanists even that it was a Christian emperor who sat at the helm of the greatest African victory over colonialism. But it's a reality that we have to face. And the Majesty, again, unveiling the statue at the coronation to I is a power move, and it is a symbol. You know what I mean? It is a symbol. Very powerful, very powerful. So I love it. I love it. Let me just read a little section here. He says, all these guests expressed to us their pleasure at the ceremonial reception, which we arranged for them upon their arrival. And it was a great reception. You can see some of the footage on YouTube as they arrive, and the carriages, and you know how they were received royally, and they had to come and bow before the emperor. As you come into the country with your handler, you're given a handler, accompany you, you come, you have to come before the throne, bow, and then they go about their business. That's on film. It says, all the guests expressed to us their pleasure at the ceremonial reception, which we arranged for them upon their arrival. Furthermore, we had caused to be set up in the vicinity of the Royal Church of St. George a statue of the great Emperor Menelik II. The work was eventually completed, and it was then determined that it should be inaugurated on the eve of the coronation. Consequently, after all the guests who had come for our coronation had arrived, which much ceremonial to be present thereat, we made a lengthy speech explaining the propriety of erecting a statue to Menelik II. When we had finished, we gave the honor of uncovering the veil with which the statue had been wrapped to His Royal Highness the Duke of Gloucester. He approached the monument and removed the curtain, and when the statue was seen, the joy in the hearts of Ethiopians was inestimable. So you can see he made the representative of the King of England, who at that time was the world superpower. This time America is not yet the superpower. England are the superpower. He made the Duke of Gloucester unveil the statue to see Emperor Menelik riding triumphant on the horse. And you notice he said that the Ethiopians their joy was inestimable. He didn't say the guests' joy was inestimable, because the guests would have been like, wow, you know what I mean, fear and trembling greet you, because his sister will not dep on it with you. You know what I mean? Muckle, a Vadoa. Yeah. So it's a serious thing. And I think top three moment is the unveiling of the Emperor Menelik statue. To me, it's a power move, it's a symbology, is showing we're not to be played with. At my greatest moment, I'm going to give tribute to the Emperor that came before I, um, and I'm going to show that Ottawa is who we are and who we celebrate. We're not going to be kowtowing or trying to water down because we have foreign guests here. And we've had a lot of content that refutes. A lot of people say Massey was a puppet of Europe and these things. If you haven't seen our episode with the son of Ketama Yefodo, the foreign minister, he speaks how His Majesty defied the the foreign interests, lobbying for China to enter the UN. All of the Western powers were vehemently against that. Ethiopia was truly independent, had a truly independent foreign policy, and that's where whether or not a state is a vassal when you look at their foreign policy. Vassal states don't get to make their foreign policy. Independent states can act independently regardless of who is providing assistance within the country. So again, the unveiling of the statue of Menelik really shows and showcases the independence of Ethiopia and the message he wanted to communicate to all of these foreign dignitaries. All right. I feel like I need a drum roll. That might be the next thing that we get Lion Pride on Patreon. We might invest in an effects machine because I feel like I need a drum roll. But number two, the number two moment is again the colonial powers sending their representatives at the height of Jim Crow and colonialism, and thus seeing all of these European luminaries. You know what I mean? There's nobody who came to the coronation, let's be real, that wasn't a member of one of the secret societies. These are all quote unquote made men in Europe. These are all top man in Europe, and the whole of them are bow. Black man couldn't even drink from the same water fountain during this time, and the whole of them are bow them head gladly for His Majesty. I didn't see one European on the gunpoint when you watch the coronation videos. The whole of them just a bow, them just a rush for bow. So what does that tell you? And again, put yourself in the shoes of a black person who's under colonial rule, who has been taught that white people are gods and never contest a white person, never look a white person in the eye. All of these things were being cultured into black people at this time. And now we see crowning of the King of Kings, and we see these top man, royal bloodlines bowing their head before him. And the only reason, the heads of state, remember at this time, heads of state didn't travel to foreign countries. It was too dangerous. And travel was often took months. It traveled by freight, by ship, then by train, So travel took months. You might have to take horse and mule some of the way. So this was the representatives. But the fact that, again, these white people, 1930, this is the height of lynching in America. This was during the Great Migration where black people were leaving the South, escaping terrorism in the South because of lynching. This is when the cities of America started becoming filled up with black people, the inner cities, because they were fleeing for their lives, refugees from the terror that was taking place in the Jim Crow South. So at the same time, we have these Europeans and Americans in the mountains of Addis Ababa, the holy mountains of Zion, bowing their head before the King of Kings and the conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah, the elect of himself for the light of this world. What a joy! What a greatness! These were the things when I was a young Ras, researching the liberty that made I was in awe. I was in astonishment because it's there. You know what I mean? You look at the timeline, you look what was going on everywhere else, and you see, okay, they knew what was going on. Earth's rightful ruler, for true. You know what I mean? No doubt, no question. It's in living color. Well, it's not living color, it's black and white still. However, because this was the beginning of the recorded age. But it's there. So to me, this is the number two moment. It's just that revelation and manifestation and what that did to the psyche of black people around the world. That broke a seal, that broke a chain. He shall set the captives free. He shall wipe away oppression and rule humanity. What a, you know what I mean? This is a prophetic breaking the chains, mental chains. Um, the world was never the same after this. You know what I mean? And doesn't get the credit, but this is a seminal moment in the world. All the black people around the world and in America will know and had that pride in the emperor. This is why he was so loved by just the regular black people of that silent generation, that World War II generation. But that history was quickly buried and hidden from my generation. By the time the 70s come around, everything, after 75, everything was buried quick, fast. Don't talk about the man, hide the legacy. We are the generation now that seek his face. We have to seek him, and we find, and you know what I mean? We find that Haile Selassie is the chapel. You know what I mean? So that is the truth. And to me, this is the number two moment of the coronation. Before we get to number one, I want people guess in the comments what is the number one before we go into the number one moment. Get into my mind and see what am I going to say is the number one moment of the coronation. There are some signs, you might know, you might not know, but put it in the comments. What do you think the number one is? Also, we're still pushing to get to 50. We're going to start our grant program on the program at 50. We also have the Lion of Judah jackets from our Lion Pride member Johnny Johnson to give away. We also got some Empress Menen calendars. Mama Ascali. If you haven't seen that episode, check out that episode. She also sent me her cards. I'm looking for the cards. We're going to be promoting them, but we're going to give away some of the Empress Menen calendars along with the jackets. We're going to come up with some type of contest to try to boost the Patreon. We're really pushing the monthly subscription right now, so that again we're trying to scale this operation. I would like to be committing more time, full time, to this operation and to be able to bring on staff. Again, we want a robust multimedia operation, and it's going to be the item that determines whether or not that's possible. So please join our monthly subscription on our Patreon, become a member, and let us shake up the world. Let us showcase the divine power of Rastafari, of Kadamari Haile Selassie I. This is Rastafari Independent Non-Aligned Media, and the the bridge that we have is His Majesty. That is what unites all Rastafari across the board, whether it's Bobo Shanti, 12 Tribe Orthodox, and then our affiliate entities like the EWF, like the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. All of them are bound by a common thread, which is Kanamawi Haile Selassie the First. So let us use His Majesty as that uniter and as that catalyst for us to do greater things together. And one of the things that we know is that we have to have a robust, strong, independent, non-aligned media in order to really be sovereign, in order to really be power. To show our power as a people, we have to have a strong media apparatus. So join us on this mission. And I'm talking to, I know we have at least about 100 hardcore Lion Voice Network audience. So I'm asking those ones just $5, commit $5, $10 to the cause a month. Let us build something powerful together. And trust me, I was called to do this work. I will not let the item down. You know what I mean? We're going to make this thing to be a historic part of our movement. All right, I only see one person, Sister Cheryl. Boy, may I tell you, I love the eyes. The eyes always giving that strength. International president of the EWF, and I am a proud member of the EWF, Local 12 right now. I did join, dues paying member too. So big up the international president. She says naming to Haile Selassie as the top moment. I want to see some more moments. Let me see at least 3 or 4 before I unveil my moment, top moment. Let's make it fun. What is a top moment? East Ethiopia, Yeshua, Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie, Blessed Brethren, and Empress. Blessing family for the check-in. We're trying to get a few more. Let me get at least 2 more guesses what I have for the top moment of the coronation. What was your top moment? Let me know your top moment. Might not be the same for I, but let me know your top moment. Make we have some fun. Yes, it's a mutual admiration society. With Sister Cheryl, she said, love you same way. Bless up, DejKwasi, you're doing great work. Give thanks, and I'm looking forward to welcome the eye to the Lion Pride on Patreon. We have very nice monthly town hall meetings. I know the eye will be a great asset because we really want to do some strong philanthropic work to stimulate the creative spirit of our people. Gain up me, Sister Emmanuel, long time. Bless up my Patreon family. My Patreon family is what keeps Iman going because they spend their hard-earned cash with me every month. They show up. This is how we pay for all of our subscriptions, everything we're doing. So I love them. I can't stop big them up. Looking forward. All right, Freeway Dread, crowning in general, the family pick I like. All right. Blessing. I'm getting okay. Raskasaraya, blessed love, Rastafari family. We need to put our money where our mouths are. Yes, Sister Cheryl, you get it. We have to build it this way. I know people might say, boy, the Ras beggy. But we have to build it this way. There's no go around. If your platform is not funded by your audience, you're vulnerable. When they talk about canceling, it's a serious thing. The people who survive cancellation is the people who have an audience who support them. If you let the companies, the big companies and the money bill you, because they will bill you once you have the numbers and the analytics, they will bill you, they will invest in you. But when that thing named cancellation come, you're gone. because he didn't build that base of support. So I have to have the call to action to the family to fund this operation if we want to last. And I don't plan to, I put 4 years into this. I don't plan to give up on this family. Trust me. I don't plan to dash with that 4 years there. By 5 years, I want this to be full time. I want us to be over 1,000 Patreon, which I consider a mature ecosystem. We have 1,000 paid subscribers at the $10 mark. That to me is across the board on content creation. That's a mature ecosystem. You have 1,000 people, and that's what I counsel my clients about. I do consultations as well, so you can book the consultation through my website. But that's where we gotta be. I need one more. Okay, everybody's saying, okay, the coronation of His and Her Majesty together. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yes, Michael, big up yourself. The $1 super chat. Again, those super chats, they may look small, but if we have 50 people giving a $10 super chat, now we're talking, you know what I mean? So my thing is never, we don't want to look big contribution from few people. We want small contribution from the many. That is the model. Every Mickle make a Muckle. I don't want to break anyone's pocket. You know what I mean? I know that most of us can afford $5 a month or $10 a month. You know what I mean? That's $2 strong. You know what I mean? If you're at $10 a month or whatever. But we want the little from the many, because that's the strength. You know what I mean? Don't take a lot off of a one. And I don't just want it for myself, I want it for my guests. So every time my guests come on the platform, as I said, with 50,000 subscribers, if we have everybody give $10 to a guest, that guest walk away with $500,000. We've capitalized that guest. Now we're directing capital into our movement. We're funding our workers. We have the power to do that through this platform, the Lion Voice Network. We can do that every Wednesday. I can invite, and what we want to do with the Patreon is have the Patreon help to bring people. We vet them, and then we put them on the platform and fund them and send them on them way. And those people are, what they're going to do is we're going to ask them, hire Rastafari people. That's how we're going to liberate ourselves. But again, it starts with supporting the media platform, that we can be powerful and we can highlight and have the ability to have budget and staff, which are my two buzzwords. All right, so I'm going to go forward. We had some good guesses, some great guesses. Let me say that. The number one, that's the drum roll. I need a drum machine. You see what the item doing? That's my team, by the way. It's not, you know what I mean? So, I am Bingy. I am Bingy. Yes. How you feel about that? How you feel about that? All right. So, the number one moment, and Sister Emmanuel, I came very close. Freeway, they came very close. Patreon, they know me. They know I, car. We have Bill of Vibes together. But I say the crowning of Empress Menen, the negotiation, the elevation, because this has the biggest impact moving forward for our families. It's at the family level that we're going to cripple and paralyze the generational curses. This is where we are going to thrive, by recognizing the power of our queens and building those solid family units as brethren, choosing a chosen queen worthy, you know what I mean, to share your highest moment with you. And that's part of your vetting. When you are with this young lady, is she worthy to to share your greatest moment together. Empress Menen was no slouch. She was a genius, you know what I mean, a tactician. She was a nurturer, a mother, a humanitarian, a builder. You know what I mean? Proverbs 31 all the way. So this is the number one, the crowning of Empress Menen. What a joy. Eh? What a joy. The crowning of Empress Menen. I'm telling the item, this is the revolution. And shortly after the crowning, we have the granting of the Constitution, rising the Ethiopian from a peasant to a citizen. Cannot be underestimated. He shall set the captives free. So a lot of people look at that as just from European domination and the scramble for Africa, but it's also from the regional warlord, the Rasses, who could kill people who were on their land, and there was no recourse under the law because all of those places were independent kingdoms. So by establishing the constitution, creating the Ethiopian as a citizen of the realm with rights, inalienable rights, His Majesty set the captives free at home. The route from the banks of the River Nile, you know what I mean? Revolutionary, with his queen by his side. This is the revolution. This is the uprising. This is what distinguishes I and I. And this is the foundation upon which we must build the next 100 years. We're coming up on the 100-year anniversary of the coronation, 2030. I will be in Africa by that time, living. Many of us are making that operation. We can't wait for the centenary. The whole of we're supposed to buck up in Ethiopia for 2030. But that being said, you know what I mean, this crowning with the crowning of Empress Menen, breaking the tradition to I was greatest. Look at this image. This image is now iconic. You know what I mean? It's an iconic image. The two in the crimson gowns, you know what I mean? Which is also symbolic. Gold. Boy, I'm gonna tell you, the thing mighty, the thing mighty. So that's number one. So those are the top 10 moments of the coronation of His Imperial Majesty. We have to honor the coronation every year. You know, we have to do content. Again, as the station builds, we'll have the ability to do the documentaries. We'll have the ability to go to Ethiopia, film content around the coronation, get into the little intricacies, do more research, you know, hire interns to do research, all of the things that, you know, you see 60 Minutes them do. Can you imagine a Rastafari version of 60 Minutes? Me would have like see a program like that on the Lion Voice Network. You know what I mean? But these things have to be funded. Investigative journalism, where a man takes 2-3 months for one topic, and him have a film crew and him go through and put together something and present it to the family. These are the things that we need as we build a thriving Rastafari Pan-African ecosystem. And I'm here to fill that gap and do that work. We're already doing it, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel, just support the platform, you know what I mean? But we have so much to go through. The next installment of our Road to Zion, Road to Heaven on Earth series is going to come out next Saturday at noon. So stay tuned for part 2 of the Road to Heaven on Earth, cataloging our recent trip to Ghana and historic events at the Kwaku Ando Sustainability Institute. If you haven't seen part one, make sure you take it in. We're talking about this concept of heaven on earth. We've built a proof of concept in Africa, and we are excited about showing to the family as now we are in a time of rebuilding and um, a time of destruction. It gives us an opportunity to build forward based on these types of templates where we can build dynamic spaces. We've identified key elements, things like being off the grid. Right now, most of Jamaica has no power, and because of that, we can't reach most of the family. One of the reasons we haven't had a lot of interviews with ones on the ground is because they don't have power. They have to preserve their power. They're powering their phones by generator. There are dead bodies in the street. You know what I mean? I mean, it's a lot worse than being televised, both animals and people. People are missing, houses are gone. It is apocalyptic, is what I've heard described in certain areas. And one of the reasons that we are so vulnerable is because most of us are on the JPS power grid. So Rastafari spaces, we should have them off the grid. Our Kwaku and our Sustainability Institute in Ghana, the Habisha Kwaku and our Sustainability Institute is off the grid. When we talk about food production, we have farms on the property and food forests. You know what I mean? So it's producing food. Most of the food that we ate came off of the land there. So these are aspects that we want to ensure that as we build forward in Jamaica and in other islands, or as we build anywhere as Rastafari, that we're incorporating certain elements into our facilities. Seed bank, we need seed banks to save our genetics, our heirloom seeds and plants. We have the beginnings of a seed bank and storage system at Kazi. We're going to be expanding that, so we definitely will be bringing that. But all of these things are things that we are now highlighting, and we're growing with intention. Our job with Rastafari Independent Non-Aligned Media is to provide a consistent narrative as we grow as a family with intention and united, because we're pushing the unity. We are creating a central narrative around repatriation, and that narrative is that the mission is the manifestation of heaven on earth. The foundation is Africa. We build the foundation in Africa and it will spread to the four corners of the earth. We're confident of that. We have a work to do while the Third World War rages and escalation. We're in the midst of a nuclear arms race has been reignited just this strong. Russia, responding to America, said they're going to start testing nuclear arms again. So we're back to the 1950s and 60s with nuclear arms race. This is one of the reasons that I joined the EWF, because in the EWF constitution it says that we are coming together to save ourselves from annihilation and to carve out a place for ourselves in the sun. So the two things, working toward world peace, international black repatriation. This is what EWF represents. This is why I joined with the like minds to achieve that end. And this is the narrative we're going to be making sure that we drill on in the comments. If you notice, the Almighty is removing comfort from everyone in the West. Everyone in the West, very, very few, not let me say everyone, but very few people in the West comfortable and just seated and feel good. There's some pressure, whether it be economic pressure for many of I and I, whether it be the survival pressure. The West is rough right now, family. If you're watching from Africa, just know, say your brethren and sister in the West have got through it right now. There's a reason for that. And the reason is that he wants us to remember your first love. Remember Mama calling, Africa calling. And those of us who hear the call, we want to answer in a structured way, a strategic way. And this is why having the media, having that narrative is so important right now. You can't make the things scatter because there's so much things to distract with. You know what I mean? Most of us are addicted to a phone them, no matter how bad we try. Because the thing with the phone, anything where you like, it depot it, and it don't mean that it's destructive. You can like constructive thing. Most of the time, on news and them constructive, you learn. If you love learn, you can learn all day. A scroll, you know what I mean? Depending on your algorithm is set up. So um, most of us have that addiction. We're fighting. So it's very important that we keep focus. We keep the thing structured and tight in terms of our energies and our focus. And we already have everything we need. And that's why you hear I talk about aggregating the capital through the platform. When I bring the guests on the platform, and they provide a space where we can support. We need to support so that we can fund our workers. When I make an appeal to the global family for support, the item should support so we can fund our media. There's nothing that we're going to do that somebody else going to come in and fund because it's the right thing to do. We will only get reparation when we demonstrate that we have the power to be respected, and that power, the base, comes with an economic power. So if we think we're gonna get reparation before we gain power, we're naive and we're fooling ourselves, and I would dare say even delusional. The only way that, because remember, these governments, the colonial governments, are bankrupt. They're stealing their money. They're washing their money. They're not thinking about giving you no reparation right now, my brother. They are collapsing. So if you think you'll get them to transfer money to the eye because it's the right thing to do, again, I dare say delusional. Come for me in the comments. We can have that argument. When we demonstrate the power through building our own economics, through circulating our own dollar, when they see us building up this Zion on earth and they want to get saved, that is when they will find the money. When you have something that somebody want and then find the money. When a man poor but you go in him house and him have a 75-inch flat screen, him find the money for the flat screen. Because him want to watch the movie then on the big screen, so him find it. You don't have the money, him broke. But him find the money. Remember, say him want a draw herb. Him find the money for get the draw herb. He not the money. But he will find the money from what him want. Same thing with the colonial powers. When we have that power and they want, then that is when they will give us that reparation. But until then, we're on our own. So everything that we want that is good, we have to invest and fund it ourselves, family. So I'm giving these few words. I want to just give thanks for everyone who watched the live, the hundreds that will watch on the replay. Again, it's been so satisfying to build this platform with the item, to meet all of the people internationally, to build a global coalition of Rastafari and Pan-African family. It's been a joy, but we need to accelerate the process. We need to really buckle down right now. The next 5 years leading up to the centenary of His Majesty coronation is really takes a diligent approach. We need to really have a vision, have a plan, and execute, and exodus as many people as we can out of the West by 2030, if we even have that much time. I'm very careful not to put a time on the fall of Babylon, because it could be 50 years, it could be tomorrow. No man knows the hour or the minute, but the preparation has to be diligent because we're seeing things accelerating. We're seeing greater signs, that collapse is near. So we have to be diligent. And again, not just the economic collapse, but now we're seeing the natural disasters on top of that. So all of these things tell us on our prophetic clock, we need to be diligent, we need to be moving, we need to be taking rapid action. So I really just give thanks for the global family, for all of the item strength. You know what I mean? Again, it's been a pleasure. We had the top 10 moments. Let's just run through them again quickly. So the number one was the crowning of Empress Menen. Number two was the colonial power sending their representatives at the height of Jim Crow and colonialism to bow. Number three was the unveiling of the statue of Emperor Menelik. Number four was the attendance of Abuna Yosab, the representative of the Archbishop of Alexandria, Asian Church, sending their representative to bow. Number five, the anointing oil of kingship and the actual crowning with the triple crown. Number six, the unveiling of the orb, the scepter, the sword, the ring made of gold and diamonds. And that sword, this was one of the examples of the sword that was sent online. I don't know if that was the actual sword, but that was one of the things that were made in Europe as a proof. So we have Deborah Bizan, the ancient monastery. The invitation sent to the ancient monasteries and the tenants of the ancient monastic orders. And you can be assured that the Bahatawi would have been there, some prominent Bahatawi priests. Those are the dreadlock priests. So not just the mainstream church was in attendance, but the mystics of the church were sent invitation and sent their representation. The gold medals, number 8, gold medals to the foreign dignitaries with His Majesty Empress Menen. Number 9, the oath of coronation over a Bible bound in gold. Number 10, the 12 a.m. midnight start to the coronation ceremony, where His Majesty had to pray. You know what I mean? So all of those things, those were the top 10. Those were the top 10 things. You know what I mean? And we give thanks. If you have a list, you're watching this on the replay, put in the comments what were your top 10 moments. If you're watching this on the replay, put in the comments. Let's talk about it. Let's keep this history alive. Let us rejoice in the crowning. Again, this is the birth of our movement. This is the birth. We wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be talking about Rastafari independent, non-aligned media were it not for this coronation moment. So we do give thanks for all these things. This Wednesday, we'll announce our guests shortly. Stay tuned. We're also going to announce the date for our next town hall meeting for our Patreon. We're working on our November newsletter. So if you want to get the newsletter, make sure you subscribe on the website, or you can join our Patreon for free and you will get the newsletter, and we have content for our free Patreon members as well. So there's no bar. You can come in wherever you fit in, but we are asking those who have the means, please, asking the ones them to come off of the fence, support the platform, because there's so much that we can do with a strong media presence. And the thing is that when this platform rise, it's not just going to be the DejazmatchKwasi that rise. We'll have the power to rise hundreds, literally hundreds of people, and create full-time employment for so many more. Because again, you can imagine a guest come on and we have 1 million subscribers and 50,000 of them buy that audience member product. That's $500,000 that someone can just get in one appearance. And if we build that culture here intentionally as Rastafari, to know that, all right, every Wednesday on the live, I'm gonna put aside $10, and regardless of what the person have, I'm just gonna send that $10 cause Rastafari people and them are do great work. Can you imagine if we aggregate 50,000 people to do that? What that injection of capital into our community looks like. That freeing people, that means people can left them work after the interview, them just call them boss the next day and say, listen, bossy, I like how you look for me, you know, bossy. I'm gone, you know. Because what, they have $500,000 in their bank account. That's maybe 5 years that they now have a cushion for execute their work off of one appearance. That's the power we have in the modern era. But we have to believe, we have to buy in, we have to know more than believing, we have to know that we are worthy and that we have that vision. And that is my vision. And I'm not going to stop chanting until we achieve it. So, yes, I want to fully fund this platform. I want those 50,000 plus people to become monthly subscribers on this platform. But I also want them to support our guests so that our guests are capitalized and all of that money now flows. So think of it this way, $40 a month, we can fund the whole Rastafari movement within a year, pumping that amount of capital into the community, and everybody walk away with $500,000, and everybody now can hire staff and budget, and we're going to transform ourselves. So there's no limit to what we can do when we support each other. So I give thanks again, my 45 in the Patreon who are visionaries. I give thanks for the item, and I'm looking forward for the item to be joined by hundreds of thousands more in the coming months and strongs. We are worthy, and we're not going to stop. Why? Because the time has come for the lions to tell our own story. And this is the lion's voice.
This is Warrior King, and the time has come for the lions and the lioness to tell their own story. This is the lion's voice. Give thanks and praise for the wonderful blessing that's been poured on me. Give thanks and praise. Jah use a yet an instrument to set the people free. Jah give her the powers to chant. Jah give her the powers to chant. Rastafari, the lion's voice.
This is Mama Thea of Asli Pure, and when I want to hear the story from the lion and the lioness, I listen to Lion Voice with Kwasi Bonsu.
Greetings, this is Shiloh. The time has come for the lions to tell their own story. See? This is the lion's voice. Keep it locked, right, sir? Shiloh said that. Are you satisfied? Wipe those tears from your eyes. I'm all alone, still you thought I was telling a lie. This is the lion's voice. Keep it locked, right, sir?
What are you waiting for? Come together, calling from near and far. Know who you are. What are you waiting for? Rally up, it takes the dust. What are you waiting for? Ancestors paved the way for us. Yes, I am Ketis Oyonde, asking, what are you waiting for to come together? The time has come for the lions to tell our own story. This is the lion's voice.
Yes, job people, this is Michael Shemai representing. I will say, hear the lion voice, saying it is time for the lions and the lionesses to tell their own story. King David killed Goliath with a stone, we original dread.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. But people, open your eyes. Wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the lion's voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari, live it. Hey, the lion's voice. Rastafari.
Alright, listen to me now, people. The lion roar, no dog bark. See? The lion's voice with Kwasi Bonsu. Time right now for the lion to tell his story. See? Listen up.
Haile. The time has come for the lioness to tell our own story. No surrender, no retreat, we are Jaja soldier. Rougher than the streets, tougher than a boulder. Bigging up Lamb's voice. Now put it, I Jalifa said that.
Yeah, now the time has come for the lion to tell his own story. Yeah, the one them called Celestial I represent for the mighty lion voice. And this a shook up your planet tectonic. As me sip up my roots and tectonic. And you can't make me jump nor get panic. Have the engine a run like mechanic. Room.
I will never stop, hail the Most High. And I will never stop, call Rastafari. Blessed love, this is Kushite representing for the Lion's Voice. We are here to tell our own story, Rastafari.
Yeah, David Dread of Steel Person. I'm saying hail to the lion voice because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here. Hear me now. Oh, yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice.